Have you ever found yourself waking up from a nightmare, only to realize that you were just in another one? This is the story of our protagonist. In the world there is nothing, only monsters roaming. Our hero Lu Shang stand alone confronting the giant centipede monster. He unleashed his ultimate move to strike the monster, and then everything went dark. There is only a sound calling out his name multiple times. Lu Shang. Lu Shang. It is his teacher calling out to him while he is sleeping in the class. The teacher said that he had slept for the entire day and told him to look at himself because there were only 200 days left till the final exam. And all he's good at is sleeping. The teacher said if he doesn't put any effort into studying, he won't even pass the construction worker level for hiring. Then the teacher sighed and dismissed the class. Lu Qiming, one of Lu Shang's classmates, asked him if he dreamt about the same nightmare again. Lu Shang told Lu Qiming it was that depressing and dilapidated field again. There was no one around, except for monsters. Lu Shang said it was this nightmare that caused his mental state to drop severely, and his vitality dropped by 0.02 from what it originally had. He will have to take a ton of medicine and train himself to death to gain it back. Lu Qiming told him not to think too much about it, and just let the geniuses fill the role of heroes to save this world instead of them. Lu Qiming invited Lu Shang to play some games with him, but Lu Shang passed because he wasn't in the mood. He just needed to go home, but Lu Qiming insisted on asking Lu Shang to go together. Lu Shang tirelessly told Lu Qiming that he was not going because he needed to sleep at home. Another classmate called Lu Qiming to hurry, then Lu Qiming said goodbye to Lu Shang and went on his way. Lu Shang, on his way home, keeps mumbling about how he never thought that after reincarnating into this new world he still had to worry about his final exams. Then he looked at the news on the building's billboard. A girl carrying an overloaded cargo told him to move aside. He surprisingly thought that she's so strong and asked himself, when will he be able to be like that? At his home, his father is lying down, and his mother is applying thermal plaster on his father's back. His father asks her to be gentle. A moment later Lu Shang is back, and his father asks him, if he's hungry, he can have an apple first, and his mother said that she's going to make dinner just waiting for his little sister. Lu Shang asked his dad why their family didn't buy a blood-circulating apparatus. His classmate has one at home, and it was surprisingly good. His father replied, his father's condition isn't an injury, and it's just slightly problematic due to old age. And he remembered that he had a present for Lu Shang. The benevolent clinic's newest health recovery powder. His mother was shocked that it is the $20,000 health recovery powder currently advertised on television, and it's good for the school year young man like him. Then his mother praises his father that he's a capable man, teasing him by slapping his hurting back. His mother suggests a celebration, cause her superiors allowed her to take back the leftover pork head meat from work today. Seeing his parents so cheerful, knowing that they are trying to cheer him up about his vitality. Speaking of which, his father asks about his vitality. Has he managed to break through to 0.85 yet? His younger sister's vitality has almost gotten to 0.9, so he is the one that they're most worried about, and his father saw on the news today that they're planning to raise the cutoff point for the high school level exam by 0.01. Lu Shang just replied to his father that he knew and excused himself to go to his room. Inside his room, he at once took off his tracksuit and began to exercise the 24 body reconstruction techniques created based on ancient yoga, martial arts, and judo techniques by the Martial Alliance's masters. 300 years ago, humongous cracks appeared in the sky and earth, and terrifying monsters emerged from them and terrorized civilization. Advanced weapons did nothing against them, but humanity was suddenly able to tap into a new source of power. A genetic lock within humanity had come undone instead. Every individual's strength was raised exponentially. That marked the new era of martial arts prosperity. However, despite all that, humans were at a disadvantage, and every day there were cities falling into monsters. Humanity is still being pushed towards the brink of defeat. One of the officials gave a speech that they all have been born into a restless world, and they must take responsibility for this era. Every one of them practices martial arts for the sake of humanity, and they are the legacies of martial arts. After finishing 3 sets of the body reconstruction technique, Lu Shang's vitality has not even changed due to the nightmares that he encountered while his younger sister was about to reach 0.9. Because of this, his parents have been through a lot just to get the medicine for him, and the heaven have given him a second chance to be reincarnated into this world of martial arts. Lu Sheng said since 3 times in a row isn't work, he is determined to go through harder. But before he could start practicing, he lost consciousness, opened his eyes, and found himself in the desolate field of his nightmares. He pinches his cheek to wake himself up, but nothing happens. Suddenly a zombie appears and attacks him from behind and pushes him off balance. It tries to bite him, but he dodges the bite and kicks it in the chest to send it away while the zombie was falling. He took a rock and smashed the zombie's head to its real death. He finally killed the zombie. Surprisingly, the aura came out from the zombie and entered his body. These are the zombie memories of when he was still living. He was with his friend at the beach having a chit-chat. The memory when he was assigned the base number 1359's defense team. The memory of training with his commander, and the last memory of him facing his demise. Lu Sheng asks why he has gotten his memories after killing him. While he was so confused about what happened, another zombie attacked him from behind. He sensed it then. With just one move, he decapitated the zombie. A blue aura appeared from his body, and his eyes were sparkling. Lu Sheng isn't aware of the situation, not just memories of the zombies he killed entering his body, but also their strength. He realizes that strength is slowly entering his body. He can't believe that he gained a lifetime's worth of experience just killing zombies, and he sighs and says it's only just a dream, even though he thinks it's a dream. But everything feels so real. The second zombie's memory penetrates his memory, showing the base 1359. So, he decides to find the base to seek the truth about this dream there. A moment later, he absorbs another zombie, but only memory this time. Turns out that non-combat zombie has nothing for him to get stronger but memory, and it's useful for him. Suddenly, the dream world started to shake, and he woke up to his reality. His little sister Lu Qinghe is calling him at his door. She told him it's dinner time, and scolded him not to be lazy. When he opened the door, she noticed that Lu Sheng was sweating. Then she said don't tell that he's working out when he was sleeping the entire of time. Lu Sheng excused his little sister that he just took a little nap. His sister noticed his muscle and turned around while reminding him don't make their parents wait. Lu Qinghe wonders when her brother develops those muscles and thinks he must put a lot of effort into working out. Lu Sheng sighed and remembered when they both were kids his sister was like glue to him, but after attending school and received her assessment result, her attitude toward him changed. Her vitality is 1.0 and her combat ability is over 100. She might soon receive an offer to a prestigious martial art university, and as for him, he just feels like he's a worthless brother. When he looked in the mirror, he was surprised to see his muscular body. He felt full of energy, and not only just that, he also remembers the memories that he got from those zombies and various combat techniques he inherited. He can't believe that he can bring what he obtains from a dream to reality. At the family's dining table, he ate bowl after bowl thinking that his mom's cooking skill has improved, but to everyone's surprise, he empties all the food on the table and asks for another bowl. Realize everyone's reaction, he said never minded, he's full. But his father wouldn't let it go, so he snatched the bowl from Lu Sheng, gave it to his mother, and ordered her to cook a few more dishes. His father was so happy to see him have so much appetite and said it was a good thing. His sisters belittle him because his vitality is never going to pass 0.8, but her father told to stop belittling him. While his father and sister were arguing, he plans to get his vitality check at the dojo. Later, he arrived in front of the Hongchuan dojo. The head of the dojo is an Ai Hongchuan, and he is rank 4 martial artist. The World Martial Alliance standard and ranking system excellent pupil rank 1 martial artist like Ku Chu Chi has vitality 1.5 and combat power of 150. Professional instructors rank 2 martial artists like Lin Lan has vitality of 15 and combat power of 1,500. Consultants like rank 3 martial artist Shi Jin has vitality of 100 and combat power of 10,000. Dojo master like rank 4 martial artist and Ai Hongchuan has vitality surpasses 200 and combat power over 100,000, and the list go on and on until rank 9. The martial art who has highest rank was considered the superhuman. Lu Sheng looks at the poster thinking only the children from a wealthy family can afford to attend the dojo. If his sister attends this dojo, his family will support her, but as for him, he isn't interested. Beside, he can absorb the experience, form the zombies in his dream. The receptionist greeted him and asked if he would like to enroll in the class, but he just said no, he came only for an assessment of his vitality. The receptionist thinks that he doesn't have a personal trainer with him and looks like he's not from rich family either. Then she just guided him to the assessment equipment and asked him if he need her assistance. But Lu Sheng replied it's fine, he knows how it works. In the assessment room, he'll assess his vitality first. He put his hand on a glowing ball and vitality window show that his vitality is 0.963. Martial artist rank is apprentice rank. He was so happy that his vitality increased by 0.2 in just an hour of sleep, and he almost catches up to his little sister at this rate. Next, he'll assess his combat power. He placed his palm in front of the equipment and concentrated, then blue aura appear from his body. He closed his eyes and used the experience and combat techniques from the two zombies that curved in his mind. He stepped forward and hit the test equipment. He wait for the result, then the window show that his combat power is 113. He's surprised on his improvement. He thinks if he slept for 9 or 10 hours, he will be reborn as a martial artist. Back at his room, he was struggled to fall asleep when he wanted to. He turns on the light and decides to work out to stabilize vitality. He started to practice, but realized that not his usual practice movement. This is the body training techniques from the zombie memory. The memory keep flashing as he's practicing. He repeated the movement and realized every time he go through the motions, he can feels the power surging through him. And he not just using the body training technique, there is a breathing technique as well. As he manifests an electric ball, his stomach rumble, and he's so hungry that his face became zombie-like. Turn out that he forced his body to grow, and the energy consumption can't keep up. Regular food isn't enough to provide him with the nutrients he need anymore, so the option is left is strengthen pills. But with his family financial, he can't afford it, and if things continue like this, his growth rate will slow down, so he better start earning. In his school, there is an award for student performance, and he planned to get his hand on it. He needs to show his talents and abilities. At the sports gym locker room, Lim Chiu-ming told him that it's been a long time since they've had a practical combat lesson. Lim Chiu-ming noticed Lu Sheng's body and asked him, when did he get those muscle? Lu Sheng replied that he has been working out and his hair has grown longer. It's time to take a haircut. Lim Chiu-ming smuggled said that Lu Sheng was trying to get girls' attention, but Lu Sheng replied he isn't the same Lim Chiu-ming, and the exam are coming, suggest him to get ready, and they both go to gym. At the gym, practical combat instructor Zhong Zhenghua said today they will be reviewing the basics of combat techniques that they have talked about in the class. Lim Chiu told Lu Sheng that Mr. Zhong is a rank 2 martial artist, and his scars from the actual battle with beasts, judging by those scars on his right arm. While Mr. Zhong shows his techniques, Lu Sheng notices that his techniques are too simple and unrefined, and the things he absorbed from his dreams are much better. After showing basic combat, Mr. Zhong called one of the students named Yang Yifei to prove to the class. As he walked to perform, the girls in the class were astonished by his showing off, and they praised him for being the strongest in the class. Lim Chiu-ming was disappointed and said that guy again. He's the one hogging the spotlight every time cause he handsome, rich, and he got himself the best pills. His vitality is getting close to 1.2 as well. Lim Chiu-ming assumed that the instructors always play favorite, and people like him are useless folks. In Lu Sheng's mind, he'd agreed with his buddy, but now that he knows he gets stronger, he'll grab them all with his own hands. After proving, Mr. Zhong told Yang Yifei that he had a few issues with his balance, and he will correct his movement next time. Next, he will have other students to practice with him. Yang Yifei thanks him, but in his mind, he isn't accepting Mr. Zhong's advice and belittle Mr. Zhong for having a lower rank martial art compared to his family. Mr. Zhong asked if there is anyone wanted to spar with Yang Yifei. The students keep silence and no one's bothered to spar with him. Mr. Zhong realized every time this happens, the students start shriveling away. The school only teaching them the basics, but once they join the military, only a handful of them will be walking the path. He knew that the students said he play favorite while thinking he noticed the stare of Lu Sheng. Those staring eyes belong to some who has undergone truly arduous training. He pointed in Lu Sheng and ordered him to spar with Yang Yifei. Lim Chiu-ming warned Lu Sheng not take it and reminds him that they will have an exam soon. But Lu Sheng said don't worry, he has been training. Mr. Zhong told them that have 10 minutes for this sparring match. Remember the lesson and safety first. As they're facing each other, the instructor gave the signal to start. Mr. Zhong noticed that Lu Sheng showed no sign of fear and kept his cool. He asked what Lu Sheng's vitality is from the last test. Lu Sheng replied shortly 0.802. He thought that Lu Sheng's vitality was too low, and he reminded Lu Sheng to pay attention to his strength, then he was ready to fight. Before the fight, Yang Yifei asked Lu Sheng to get ready and mocked him when the fall. Don't try to use his hands to stop the fall. It might put pressure on his bones. Instead, he should protect his vital, especially the head. Lu Sheng thanks Yang Yifei for reminding him and told Yang Yifei he can come at him anytime now. Yang Yifei at once flashing his fist in front of Lu Sheng's face. The students were stunned seeing what they saw. Yang Yifei getting cocky cause he thought a pushovers like Lu Sheng deserve an embarrassing. But he was surprised that his hand hitting nothing. Lu Sheng turn. He's charging himself with the blue aura like a Super Saiyan Blue and prepare to unleash Goku's Dragon Fist. He punches Yang Yifei's arrogant face, cause him to bound with Super Saiyan Blue energy. Everyone was shocked and Yang Yifei's face is still smoking from the impact. Mr. Zhong quick went to check if Yang Yifei is okay. Everyone's looking at Lu Sheng. They all can't believe that he took only one punch to send Yang Yifei away. Even Lu Sheng himself was surprised at his own combat ability. As the instructor is holding Yang Yifei, everyone cannot seem to believe their eyes that Lu Sheng defeated Yang Yifei with a single punch. Mr. Zhong told them to stop spacing out and go to call a teacher from the infirmary's office. After the nurses put Yang Yifei on a stretcher, Lu Sheng went to sorry Mr. Zhong that he did not mean to do that due to the lack of his strength control. Mr. Zhong looks at him in the eyes and told him not to worry about it. Beside Yang Yifei's injuries aren't that severe, then Mr. Zhong asked him to come to his office because he has something to discuss with Lu Sheng. Then Lu Sheng told Lim Qiuming to inform the homeroom teacher that need to go to Mr. Zhong's office. Lim Qiuming is still frozen from shock of unbelievable that Yang Yifei with Vitality 1.22 is defeated by Lu Sheng with a single blow. He didn't recognize is that the Lu Sheng he has known for long time. At Mr. Zhong's office they enter the room. Lu Sheng noticed the bonsai and said that he never knew Mr. Zhong has such hobby. Mr. Zhong laughed and said everyone has secrets of their own. Wouldn't he agree? With just Vitality only 0.8 and yet defeat another student with 1.22. Lu Sheng replied that the result was from last assessment. Mr. Zhong suspected that Lu Sheng might use the prohibited drug to increase his vitality, which was harmful to the body, but Lu Sheng rejected and swear that he has never used any illegal drugs. Mr. Zhong said fine and asked to assess his vitality and combat power again, so that Mr. Zhong can confirm it for sure. Lu Sheng placed his hand on the glowing ball, the blue aura appeared, and the window status showed up. His vitality is 1.532, and he's officially a martial artist rank 1. Mr. Zhong was freezing that an official martial artist at the age of 18. There's no genius like him in the whole school, even in the whole White Lake City. Lu Sheng prepares to assess his combat power with one little punch. The assessment dummy head flew away, destroyed the bonsai in an instant. Awkward, Lu Sheng kept saying sorry to Mr. Zhong that he didn't do it on purpose, and Mr. Zhong couldn't hold his tears for the loss of his bonsai. While crying, Mr. Zhong thought even the assessment model is modified for students, but it should withstand the attack of an official martial artist. He realized that Lu Sheng's strength had surpassed a rank 1 martial artist. Mr. Zhong asked Lu Sheng when the last time was. He assessed his vitality and combat power. Lu Sheng told him that was half a month ago. Mr. Zhong couldn't believe it and thought that Lu Sheng might be an heir to some noble clan, or perhaps he was receiving the tutelage of some grandmaster. But Lu Sheng told him that he's from an ordinary family and he's not disciple of any grandmaster either. As for the reason behind his improvement, he likes to keep it a secret. Mr. Zhong contemplated that Lu Sheng's improvement almost reached double in just 1 month, and in his school day, his results were an average. He became a rank 2 martial artist and entered the military after working so hard for many years. He understood the truth after stepping in the real battlefield, and that is impossible for humankind to defeat monsters. And only humans who have those monster strengths can defeat the monsters. Mr. Zhong sighed in relaxation and told Lu Sheng with his current result. He's more than qualified to be in higher standard school, and he will contact the dean's office about this. Lu Sheng thanked Mr. Zhong for his consideration, but he prefers his current class because he can advance much faster in his dream than in the class. Mr. Zhong told him the school will do its best to support him. If Lu Sheng has any difficulties about cultivation or requires the help of the school, feel free to tell him. Lu Sheng won't hold back that he has 2 requests. He wants to apply for a martial artist scholarship, and at the same time he hopes that the school will allow him to have a more flexible timetable. Mr. Zhong understood what Lu Sheng lacks financial aid and free time, or so he will request a scholarship that will give Lu Sheng a grant of $30,000 and discuss his timetable with the dean's office. The processing might take a couple of days. Mr. Zhong gave his black card to Lu Sheng with more than 100,000 in it and told Lu Sheng that he can pay him back when he has the money to prevent Lu Sheng wasting time. Lu Sheng appreciated Mr. Zhong, and Mr. Zhong told him to go back to his class and keep doing his best. As soon as the door is shut, Mr. Zhong can't hold his excitement about Lu Shang's extraordinary. He plans to keep it secret from other school because Lu Shang is the school trump card. He couldn't wait to tell the school higher up about it. Lu Shang. After so many years, they finally have someone not just for the unified examination, but also can go to this strange place. The scene changed to shop where a nourishing tonic called Orchid Heart was recommended by a staff to a mother and daughter. The staff explained that the tonic is effective when used to stabilize vitality after it reaches 0.8, and it was also specially designed for female martial artists. Currently on promotional with just $30,000, they bought it immediately as they left the shop. Lu Shang heard the mother told her daughter to train harder. He understood a poor family like his only able to buy the cheap one, and strong martial artist can earn more to boost their vitality with those expensive nourishing. The same goes for his sister. As for him, he blamed himself for didn't put enough effort to change his destiny and wasted his time aimlessly. As he saw a fellow duo student talking about playing a game that reminded him, he was once like them before when at time he felt like a fish trapped in the tank of the bottomless sea. However, all of this has changed now that he broke through the surface of the water and discovered the real world beyond. Once again, he had a chance to change his destiny and vowed to never make a wrong decision this time. Lu Shang was surprised that at this moment, the multitude of battle memories he had absorbed during this brief period had all been integrated into just one moment. He decided to advance yet another step on this path for his family and what he wants. He will keep becoming stronger to fight. Later in his dream, he's fighting with another zombie with combat ability. After exchange some blows, he defeat the zombie, and the zombie turned out to be a former martial artist when it was alive. It can still use combat techniques even after became a zombie. Lu Shang traveled to the base 1359. According to the zombie's memory, the base should be shrouded in a black mist and swarmed of an almost endless tide of monsters, though strangely he didn't even encounter a single monster but zombies. After decapitated 2 zombies in one blow, he finally reached the base, and it's looked like the wall-fortified town from Attack on Titan. He went there to get a closer look. He amazed to see such magnificent wall, but there is a breach in the wall which reminded him of the colossal titan from AOT. Then he climbs up the wall through the breach. He realized that the wall is at least 20 meters thick, yet it is really hard to imagine what kind of battle happened to take down a base of such scale. He noticed both the martial arts and the development of civilization of this world is far superior. If such a powerful civilization had fallen to the monsters, what will become for his future world? When he reached the edge of the wall, he saw a structure different from the others and concluded that should be the military base or command center. There is a humanoid figure. It looks like zombies sitting on the top floor of the building. The zombie looks at Lu Shang. An imminent force caught Lu Shang by surprise, knock him back on the floor. Lu Xin said, "Was that some kind of psychic power?" It was a terrifyingly intimidating force. He knew with his current abilities this isn't a place for him to go right now. So he decided to survey his surrounding areas because the zombies there seem pretty weak. He jumps on one of the zombies' face as a platform like a Super Mario game and passed through the other side. He reached a place that seemed like a normal apartment and looks like people must have been eating when the apocalypse dawned upon them. Strangely, there are no signs of damage to the door or windows either. His theory is ordinary people couldn't even have the right to be turned into zombies by that black mist. He saw a strange object, and when he touched it, there was light revealed in the place. It's a hologram of a pretty girl in strange, exciting clothes. "Oh boys." The girl said, "Welcome, user of Tianheng technology." At that moment, Lu Shang realized that she spoke the same language as him. He knew the fact that this isn't a high-tech auto-translator. Then the hologram girl introduced herself as a product of Tianheng Technologies. She's the built-in auxiliary artificial intelligence of the 16th generation optical mind, aka Ellie, and she responsible for controlling the network server management of the base 1359. Lu Shang asked her for the latest news. She replied, "Sure." She's happy to be of service. The status shown connecting to Skynet, which has failed because of John Connor destroyed the Skynet. Oop, sorry, that was a different story. Then Ellie pulls out a lot of info windows from the base 1359 civilian archives. The news showed year in 11,024 MC, June 21st. Main base number 2 has successful launched the 58th spacecraft in search of intelligent life form. Target destination is the Lyra Galaxy. In 11,024 MC, July 24th, base 105 has fallen. In 11,024 MC, September 24th, Lieutenant General Sun Changhe has successfully become a rank 10-star realm martial artist, becoming the 472nd rank 10-star realm powerhouse in the history of the World Martial Alliance. Currently, there are 23 ranked 10-star realm martial artists in the Alliance. In the year 11,024 MC, September 30th, bases 114, 838, and 1022 have fallen in succession. The 8th Division has been activated to search for survivors. In the year 11,024 MC, November 19th, the World Martial Alliance will be holding the 24th Grandmaster Conference at Main Base No. 1. They will be discussing the recent strategic policies that have been rolled out. Liu Shang came to know that the Dream World has a rank system the same as his world, and he can't even begin to imagine the heights of the Dream World's martial arts have reached. Another window has appeared showing the video of monsters coming through the crack in the sky. Terrified by what he saw of this dream world with both martial arts and technology reach unimaginable levels, and yet they weren't able to protect anything. In fact, they even decided to abandon their home planet and search for another suitable planet to call home. However, till the day human civilization fell, there wasn't any good news has been reported. Liu Shang was sure enough that his world too wouldn't be able to escape the inevitable destruction. Liu Shang showed sympathy for such a glorious civilization. It's such a shame. Then he asks Ellie to show him the history of this dream world. Ellie's doing her job and show him the world's history. Liu Shang's hoping to learn something from this dream world history event despite its destruction. He read the world history events and found out that the dream world is exactly his world, but it is the future of his world in 10,000 years later, and hopefully that both worlds are not the same one, or maybe a parallel universe. Then he asks Ellie to search for information specifically about himself. After the search is completed, he found his own information, which is shown that he only lived until 28 years old. On top of that, he's just an ordinary civilian. Then again, he asks Ellie to make another query with specific year 299, March, and a person named Liu Shengsu. Ellie replied access denied and asked him to provide a genetic blood sample to be registered as a user. He wonders how he does that. Then Ellie leans toward him, bites his finger and sucks his blood. Although Ellie is an AI, but Liu Shang's blushing awkwardly. After releasing his finger, Ellie lets him know that blood sample has been collected and start analysis. Liu Shang is still awkwardly thought, so that how they do in the future, huh? Oh boys. Ellie started to glitching. Liu Shang asked what's wrong with her. Suddenly fire appeared on her head, and she announced that project, Fireseed, initiated. Connection successfully and permission granted. You know, the regular sci-fi stuff that we usually see in the movie. Okay, back to our story. Liu Shang wonders, is the Fireseed project somehow related to the plan of abandoning the Earth in search of a new home planet? Another version of his information has shown up. His profile pictures look a bit older, and wonder if the future is changed? He checked the details. It's different from the one earlier. He's the best grade in school, graduated from Baiha High School, and placed 23rd in the whole of Baiha City, then enrolled in Baiha Martial Art University, joined the military 3 years later. He served in the Tiannan Military Division and died in the Southern War Zone at the age of 37 unmarried. He had the rank of lieutenant with no outstanding contributions. After reading the information, he's guessing maybe that after he became stronger, the future changed too. The trajectory of his life before 19 is the same. There's even a record of his sudden surge in strength before the college entrance exam too. And yet he is dissatisfied with these little achievements, but on the other hand, he thought in the vast human database over 10,000 years, there must have been way to many geniuses even to count. He can't even be considered a genius. However, his data here is not perfect. The records state that his vitality during the college entrance exam was 2.012, with combat power of 257, disregarding the dream world, at his current rate just by practicing refinement technique and breathing technique. Getting those results in 200 days later can be expected. However, if he takes the cultivation and gain he has made in the dream world into account, he will surpass those results for sure. His ego bursts that he should be in the national ranking, not just 23rd place in the city. His name becoming one that everyone knows, his future will surely be more than that if he can change the future by growing stronger. Then, the fate of humanity's impending destruction will be averted by him. He will turn things around and save everyone. He will be the spark that lights up a blaze through humanity. The scene was so intense that the flame lit up surrounded him. The next morning, in the dining room, Lu Xun's mother noticed her son was not wearing his uniform. She asked him if he hadn't had a class today. As he pulled the paper from his bun, Lu Xun informed her that his teacher had permitted him to study at home and that there was no need to go to school. His mother and sister were puzzled because they had never heard about such a thing. After eating, Lu Xun told his mom he would return to his room to train. As he leaves, Lu Qinghe notices the sudden change in her brother. He is not the fool she knew before. He becomes more mysterious. Upon entering his room, Lu Xun's phone rang. He answered it, and from the other line, Mr. Zhong informed him that his scholarship money had been released. He invites Lu Xun to come to school to collect the money. On the other hand, Lu Xun told him he had no time to waste and couldn't explain it to him right now. Then he ended the call and went back to his training. As he sat in a lotus position, Lu Xun persisted in becoming more vital, to change the future and show his talent to the people. When he reached the peak moments later, Lu Xun went to base 1359 and asked Ellie to pull up all the cultivation methods, reflections, and notes about martial arts that he could access with his permission. Ellie followed his command, and in a few seconds, multiple screens popped up. With 465,000 results, it was too many. So he asked Ellie to filter out the most valuable techniques that were suitable for rank 1 martial artists. Ellie quickly followed his order, and as a result, only the 3 best methods remained. The first technique is the Stellar Body Refining Technique. It was created by Wang He, a rank 2 powerhouse from the World Martial Alliance. The second is the Natural Breathing Technique created by Yang Yizhou, a rank 2 powerhouse from the World Martial Alliance. The last method is the Visualization Technique created by Duan Yifeng, a rank 2 powerhouse from the World Martial Alliance. All of them are incorporated into Project Fireseed. In Lu Xun's current world, the highest level of a martial artist is rank 9, but in this world, or 10,000 years later, they reached the 11th rank. Lu Xun was very thankful because of what people learned in this world, they managed to preserve it. He starts concentrating on practicing the Stellar Body Refining Technique. In this technique, his cells, blood, and inner body were transformed into a much more powerful form. His defense and strength became unimaginably strong. After successfully refining, the sweat covered his face and he's panting out of breath. He realized that the effect of this Stellar Body Refining Technique was 1,000 times, or even higher than the one he had practiced from the beginning. He didn't waste time and practiced the second technique called the Natural Breathing Technique. As he does this technique, flames surround him, and when he opens his eyes, he breathes like a dragon. Lu Xun felt countless flames burning within his body. Even his blood was boiling. Now there is only one remaining technique, the Visualization Technique. He sits in a lotus position and cultivates. Soon he went into his mind and saw his unconscious body floating. He approached the unconscious body and kicked it in the head because he didn't understand this technique. He sighed and gave up, deciding to figure out this technique slowly. Lu Xun wakes from his dream. He felt so exhausted and didn't know how it happened since he was just sleeping. As he looked at his arm, he felt like he was stinking and realized that the impurities became sweat and forcibly came out of his body due to the new technique he had learned. Lu Xun decided to take a bath, and as he held his nourishing tonic, he planned to get his scholarship money and make a precious elixir and tonic he discovered in his dream. The elixir and tonic that he intends to create can not only boost a person's abilities, but they can also change the pharmaceutical trajectory of the entire world. At Baihe High School, Mr. Zhong gave him the scholarship ATM card and reminded him to give him a heads up the next time he decided not to attend school. As he accepted the card, Lu Xun politely apologized to him. Mr. Zhong gave him permission to leave and advised him to at least come to school once a week. As he walked out the door, Zhang noticed the massive improvement in Lu Xun, knowing that just 2 days had passed. Now that he has money, he can create the medicinal prescription he learned in his dream. He will make the muscle and blood-strengthening decoction and marrow-nourishing pill because this best suits his current health status. Making medicine is delicate, so he decided to look for an alchemical lab to rent. A bearded man angrily told Lu Xun that he would not let him rent his chemical lab because he might see their exclusive secret prescription. Then he closed the door and told him to leave. Lu Xun just sighed and looked at the ingredients he bought. Then he realized that the card his teacher gave him had not only 30,000 but 80,000. He decided to buy the rudimentary equipment online. Still, when he ended up in an alley and noticed a medicinal hall, he never thought that a medicinal shop could exist in a remote place. Upon entering, he saw a blond man busy using his phone. Lucian approached and greeted him. The blond man, who was still focused on his phone, told him to get what he needed and bring it to him to make a payment. Lucian clarified that he didn't go there to buy. The blond man didn't pay attention to what he said and warned Lucian not to leave without paying because the shop had CCTV. As the salesman perverted looked into his phone, Lucian got fed up with him and slammed the blond man's hand onto the counter table. Now he got the attention of the perverted man. The blond man asked what he wanted. Lucian wanted to know if they had a chemical lab. As he smiled, he offered a business proposal to the pervert. Moments later, in front of the chemical lab, before entering, the blond man reminded Lucian of their agreement of $500 per hour and that he only had up to 3 hours to rent the alchemical lab. Before the blond man finished explaining, Lucian took out his card to pay immediately. Before using the lab, the blond man was thrilled and even wished Lucian good luck. Lucian put on a white coat and a pair of gloves to begin the first attempt at making the tonic. He prepared the ingredients and immersed a mutant, green-scaled lizard in a water tube to remove its scales and activate its medicinal properties. Then he carefully prepared the other ingredients. After a while, he successfully made the muscle and blood-strengthening decoction. He couldn't believe that he had successfully completed a tonic from 10,000 years in the future in just one attempt. He didn't waste time and drank the tonic to know its effect. After drinking it, he didn't feel anything and tasted nothing strange, so he thought he had failed. But suddenly, his body shook, and he fell to his knees in pain. After a few seconds, he was lying down, catching his breath. The efficacy of the tonic was incredibly remarkable. It filled up the vitality void created by advancing too quickly. In an instant, it seems that he gained even more health status than necessary. Despite its potent effect, it doesn't cause any harm to his body. Moreover, on top of massively strengthening his health status, it even has the effects of increasing the density of his skin, shrinking his pores, whitening and moisturizing his skin, and so on. This tonic is the crystallization of all the wisdom in the entire martial arts world accumulated over 10,000 years. His thoughts were disturbed when he heard a sudden knock on the door. When he opened the door, Lucian asked the time and reminded the blond man not to disturb him while inside. The panicked blond man told him there was no time to explain because his boss had already returned. He advised Lucian to leave quickly and go through the back door. Outside the medicinal shop, a beautiful woman with short brown hair, twirling the key with a healthy pair of Milk's factories, wearing seductive green clothes and a green pair of high heels, was about to enter the shop. At the alchemical lab, the owner of this Xingshan medicinal hall, her Susu, put down a box containing different tonics. Susu was very disappointed in the tonic she consumed. The quality was very poor and couldn't be considered a tonic. As she watched the news showing a martial artist with a muscular body, she realized that the pharmaceutical industry was rapidly changing. With the increase in martial artists, a new and better medicinal prescription is developed daily to eliminate the old ones. The reason why they did not keep up with the modern methods of the pharmaceutical industry was that her family was conservative and still used the old methods. Medicinal Hall has been selling ancient remedies for 100 years. Now that their pharmaceuticals have been left behind by other pharmaceutical industries, her Susu knows that if she does not find a new medicinal prescription, the business entrusted to her by her father will collapse. She turned around and decided that if she couldn't make a new product, she would collaborate with experienced chemical masters like Mr. Jiang. The blonde man, Ma Fei, greeted her and asked if she would not go to the neighboring city, adding that he didn't expect her to return so soon. Her Susu ignored him. The perverted guy blushed and was astounded by her beauty. As he perverted smiled, Ma Fei daydreamed of her Susu hugging him, and they would live happily ever after. Still daydreaming, her Susu told him to wake up and wanted to know if he had brought someone to the laboratory. Even if she's angry, in Ma Fei's eyes, she is still beautiful. He denied her accusation. As her Susu sighed, covering her forehead, she informed Ma Fei that he would be fired starting tomorrow. She threw the dirty coat into the trash can and started to clean the laboratory. Her Susu noticed the mutant, green-scaled lizard and learned that the one who used the laboratory used the activator to activate the mutant, green-scaled lizard. She also discovered that the scales, which are its most valuable part, had been removed. She had never heard of such preparation and assumed that the one who did this was a head stuck in the clouds who wanted to develop their own medicinal prescription. However, in the end, she realized that she is also like them, placing their hopes on something completely unrealistic. Her Susu saw a broken tube on the floor and wondered how many surprises she would face in her store today. She knelt and picked up the broken tube. As she stood and held up the broken tube, her Susu inspected the tonic and wondered what kind of combination was used to develop such a thing. Out of curiosity, she put one of her fingers inside the broken tube and tasted it. Her eyes wide open in shock. Then a few moments later, the scene shifted to Ma Fei, the perverted guy. Damn, why didn't the author show us Susu's reaction instead of poor Ma Fei? He sighed and blamed Lu Xun for what happened to him, and for the last time, he wanted to see his goddess, her Susu, again. Speaking of her Susu, she was running towards Ma Fei and called his name as she waved her hand. She confessed her love for Ma Fei. Hearing this made Ma Fei blush and cry from overwhelming happiness. He couldn't believe her Susu also loved him. As her Susu waved her hand, she ordered him to stop. Ma Fei cried as he assumed that her Susu really cared for him. He tried to run to her Susu and said that he knew she cared for him and confessed that he would not go anywhere and that his place was eternally by her side. But on the other hand, her Susu grabbed him by the collar and was determined to know who used her laboratory. As she shook Ma Fei's head, she let him know that if he could find the person who operated the laboratory earlier, she would let him back to work and double his salary. With a blank face and feeling dizzy, Ma Fei informed her that he had the contact number of the guy. Her Susu snatched the phone and released him. While browsing the phone contacts, her Susu knew the strengthening effects of the tonic she tasted earlier were at least 10 times greater than the blood-strengthening tonics currently on the market, which is cost $100,000. Besides, it actually has the effects of whitening and improving one's skin and so on. On top of that, the main components are all common ingredients. The cost price of producing is less than $5,000. She also knew that this newfound tonic was world-class. Her Susu quickly made a call when she found the contact. On the other hand, Lu Xun was intensely focused on his training. When he opened his eyes, he was amazed by the stellar body refining technique. As he expected of a rank 11 martial arts technique, its incredible ability to unearth a human body's potential is beyond comprehension. At this rate, Lu Xun might really be able to give rise to a real star within his body. The natural breathing technique is also phenomenal and has immense power. Without the complementary action of this breathing technique, the effects of the stellar body refining technique wouldn't be so good. Lu Xun's health status has significantly increased, and the muscle and blood strengthening decoction effect is superb. Lu Xun made 12 portions of the decoction earlier. With his current physique, 2 portions a day would be enough, and he wanted to find a way to make more tonic in 6 days. Lu Xun noticed his phone ringing. He picked it up and answered. On the other line, her Susu apologized for disturbing him and introduced herself as the person in charge of Xingshan Medicinal Hall. She informed Lu Xun that she saw the tonic he made and wanted to collaborate to promote the product. Lu Xun told her to meet with him after a week and ended the call. But her Susu wished to meet with him as soon as possible, so she grabbed Ma Fei by the collar and shook him. Her Susu gave him the task of hunting down Lu Xun. She would reward him with $60,000 if he found Lu Xun within 6 days. Ma Fei was very pleased with her offer and reminded her to keep her word. His smile changed into confusion as he asked his boss if something bad had happened. He informed her Susu that the one who rented the lab earlier was just a student. Her Susu became puzzled and wondered who this mysterious young guy was. Meanwhile, in Lu Xun's dream, he uppercut a big zombie, sending its head flying. A rank 4 martial artist zombie caught it and smashed it into pieces. Lu Xun wanted to know if a rank 1 martial artist like him could defeat a rank 4 martial artist zombie. He rushed forward, and the zombie greeted him with a punch. Lu Xun blocked it, but the force of the attack was twice his strength, causing him pain. The zombie tried to attack again and unleashed a mighty blow. Lu Xun quickly dodged it, swiftly moved behind the zombie, and kicked it in the head, causing the zombie to fall to the ground. Lu Xun jumped forward and released a slashing kick, defeating the zombie and obtaining its ability. After obtaining the zombie, Lu Xun learned from its memory that this zombie died on the front lines while facing a monster to protect the city. He wanted to clarify that he didn't obtain the zombie to be used as experience, but rather as a human being who had passed on the spirit of bravery. Lu Xun realized this zombie was actually a level 5 martial artist when it was alive, which explained its powerful punches. If it were not for the fact that it lacked intelligence and had lost an arm, it would have been impossible for Lu Xun to defeat this zombie. It's been almost a week since Lu Xun learned the stellar body refining art, natural breathing technique, and crystal visualization technique. Aside from that, Lu Xun's health status had increased rapidly with the aid of the muscle and blood strengthening decoction. He also fully grasped the zombie's fist techniques by absorbing its memories. Suppose he integrates the secret technique of the stellar body refining art and the natural breathing technique. In that case, Lu Xun will be able to exert power several times, or even hundreds of times more than usual. When the zombies tried to attack him, Lu Xun gathered his energy into his fist and unleashed a mighty blow called Stellar Impact. The earth crumbled, the zombies stumbled, and in a blink of an eye, the scene changed to the front of the dojo. Inside the dojo, Lu Xun asked the attendant if there was an available assessment room and if he could rent a machine. Holding her chin, she smirked and asked Lu Xun why he had returned. She wanted to know if it was because of the upcoming exam, knowing that health status isn't something that will increase in such a short time. Scratching his head, Lu Xun fake laughed and answered that he wondered if his health status might have increased slightly. In his thoughts, Lu Xun realized it was his second time this month to assess his health status, knowing that most people only assess their vitality twice a year. Even the schools that are most concerned about their students' grades would only perform monthly assessments. The attendant told him room 2006 was still available and wished him luck. Inside the assessment room, Lu Xun told himself that if it weren't for his abilities improving rapidly, he wouldn't bother coming here so often. He first assessed his vitality, showing a 15.632 result, far surpassing the standards of a rank 2 martial artist. Thinking about it, it made sense. The supreme martial arts techniques and the most advanced tonics are both from 10,000 years in the future. It would be strange if he didn't get such a crazy result. He then pulled up his sleeve to prepare for a combat assessment. He unleashed a powerful blow, and in a few seconds, he got a result of 3,137 combat power. He realized that because of the fist technique, he got a high result that was more than twice the standard requirement. He then got the idea that if the skill he uses can affect his combat index, his ultimate combat power should be much higher than this. Lu Xun then stood in a combat position for a second try. Using a stellar impact of his own, his eyes glowed. A blue aura emerged from his body. A whirlwind gathered in his fist, and in a blink of an eye, the scene changed. From a distance, the attendant saw him and asked if he was already done, adding that he seemed pleased. Lu Xun replied that he was indeed pretty delighted and said goodbye. The attendant happily wished him good luck in his exam. Closing her eyes, she thought of Lu Xun. Even though he was acting cool, he was pretty good-looking when he smiled. Her fantasy was interrupted when a boy asked her who she was talking to. This guy was the little brother of the girl with orange hair and a red gym bag on her left shoulder. Her name was Aishuang, and she was the daughter of the master of Hongchuan Martial Arts Academy. She asked the attendant if the guy who came earlier came for an assessment. Still blushing, the attendant clarified that she must have seen it wrong, adding that the guy earlier was just a typical high school student and coincidentally handsome. The red-haired guy said, "What's the point of being handsome if you don't make money? In our society, only prowess in martial arts really counts." He added that based on the man's clothing earlier, it looked like he came from an ordinary family. Even if he assessed many times, there was no point and nothing would change. Looking at her little brother, she knew the situation in society. The poor dwelled in academics, while martial arts were for the rich. The resources needed for cultivating martial arts are a large part of the reason for the saying. Her little brother had been taking all sorts of tonics since he was young, and his vitality was much more than others even before he had begun cultivation. Knowing that her little brother practiced all sorts of martial arts techniques, the gap between him and his peers was ever increasing, and he became arrogant. She hit him in the head and reminded him not to compare himself to others, especially those from ordinary households. A lump came out of his head, and Shuang told him that since he had access to good resources, he had more reason to work harder and not to be proud of himself because of his tiny achievements. He grabbed his sister's arm and asked for a favor. He wanted to see the assessment result of the guy earlier, and Shuang asked him why. The red-haired guy answered that the guy earlier looked a few years older than him, and he wanted to compare and see if his hard work had improved. Otherwise, he would feel uneasy. And Shuang sighed and granted her younger brother's request. She reminded him not to be complacent because the guy earlier was ordinary. The red-haired guy happily agreed with her. The attendant showed the records and clarified that the guy earlier was the only one who came to do an assessment today. As she looked into the results, she was sure that the guy earlier was indeed a student. But when the attendant pulled up the result, Shuang's eyes and mouth widened in shock, and sweat emerged from her face. She grabbed the tablet from the attendant. Her little brother fell to the ground and wondered if the test machine was broken. The attendant clarified that the device was in good condition. Learning that the result was confirmed, Shuang became serious and ordered the attendant to contact all the staff who were free to collect the information of all the students in the area. The attendant quickly followed her order. Looking at the tablet, Shuang was persistent in finding Lu Sheng. On the other hand, in front of the Martial Artists Association building, before closing the taxi's door, the driver was delighted with their chit-chat. He planned to introduce his daughter the next time he met Lu Sheng. As he walked, smiling, his eyes were closed, and his left hand was inside his pocket. He realized that the taxi driver was too passionate and thought he shouldn't have told the driver that he was going to the Martial Arts Association to take the Rank 2 Martial Artist Certification Assessment. Hence, the driver wouldn't talk non-stop. Upon entering the building, Lu Sheng bumped into a disappointed man who couldn't believe his result. At home, his combat power index was higher than 150, but the result was different here. Based on the man who was wearing a green jacket, the Martial Arts Association assessment machine was custom-made by the officials. Hence, they may have much higher precision than those sold outside. Hearing this information made Lu Sheng excited. He could finally get a definitive grasp on his true abilities. At the front desk, Lu Sheng asked the receptionist where he should go for the martial artist certification assessment. The receptionist informed him that he needed to fill out a form and then go to room 5203 for the test. A while later, holding his record, before entering the room, Lu Sheng didn't expect the martial artist certification assessment queue to be so long. As he lined up, he felt he would consume much time just to get a certification. His attention went to the two men when he suddenly heard what they were discussing. The guy in green asked his companion if he saw the pretty girl and wondered if she would take an assessment too. The guy in yellow confirmed that the girl was there for certification and felt amazed knowing that the girl was only young yet dared to take a martial arts certification. Aside from the fact that she was pretty, he assumed she also had an extraordinary ability. Lu Sheng noticed that most people in the room were around 25 years old. He didn't expect to see a martial artist younger than him taking an assessment certification. A man with gray hair was shocked to see a huge man entering the door. The big man went directly inside without even lining up, and the people around him were confused and shocked, their mouths widening. A man holding his form, wearing a combination of white and blue outfits, declared happily that today was the day he would step onto the path of a martial artist. His partner was very proud and cheered for him. Then suddenly, a big finger pushed him to the side. His mouth widened, sweat emerged from his face, and his eyes seemed to pop out of his head. Everyone in the room got the big man's attention, and another person took a photo of him. The girl confronted him and informed him that it was a first-come, first-served situation and ordered him to get in line. Holding the form of a big man, Xiao Changfeng, the examiner let them know that the giant man had the right to go first because he was going for the Rank 3 Martial Artist Certification Assessment. She was stunned by the information, and her partner spat a lake of blood. The pretty girl was surprised, and other people's mouths widened. But Lu Sheng was unfazed because he knew that strength is what reigns supreme in the world of martial arts. The strong get to enjoy all sorts of privileges. The staff ordered Xiao Changfeng to step forward for the vitality assessment. As Xiao Changfeng prepared to test his vitality, the girl still couldn't accept that Xiao Changfeng had skipped the line, knowing that it was not yet confirmed that his vitality was really rank 3. When the vitality result came out, it showed 107.2 vitality. They were astounded and realized that Xiao Changfeng had even surpassed the requirement. Next was the combat power assessment. Xiao Changfeng unleashed a mighty blow, and the impact forced the applicants to fall to the ground. The pretty girl remained in her position, but on the other hand, Lu Sheng was still unfazed. The examiner opened his left eye and announced the result. Xiao Changfeng achieved a 10,831 combat power index. The examiner was impressed and congratulated him. He informed Xiao Changfeng that he would now hold rank 3 martial artist certification from the Baihe City Martial Arts Association and receive a monthly cultivation allowance of $30,000. Xiao Changfeng looked back and noticed 2 people who remained intact in their positions. The pretty girl still couldn't believe the power of Xiao Changfeng's punch. The punch he made earlier could knock out a rank 1 martial artist. Lu Sheng stepped forward and voiced his thought. Is that the standard of a rank 3 martial artist? The pretty girl was puzzled and wondered what Lu Sheng meant by what he said. She also noticed Lu Sheng staying firm in his position during the impact. Lu Sheng approached the examiner and asked him if he could go next, adding that no one was in line. The examiner got interested in him, thinking, this kid can still be so calm after seeing the powerful punch just now. He approved Lu Sheng's request and reminded him not to be nervous and keep his heart rate regular. The result came out showing a 15.7 vitality. The examiner was dumbfounded, and the people who had witnessed the result were stunned. They couldn't believe that a student had such high vitality and assumed tonics flowed through his veins. From a distance, Xiao Changfeng couldn't imagine that an 18-year-old possessed the requirements for a rank 2 martial artist. Before testing his combat power, the examiner reminded him to relax and that he could try his combat power as many times as he liked. Lu Sheng thanked him and clarified that one was enough. Multiple colors of energy emerged from his body. In that moment, he released the Stellar Impact skill, and bright light could be seen from afar. The glass behind shattered due to the impact from his punch. Again and again, their mouths gaped open. Our protagonist achieved a combat power index of 15,709 after a breakthrough with his fist technique, along with Stellar Impact and the breathing technique. Lu Sheng's combat power had increased to 10 times that of the standard vitality requirements. He was amazed by the beauty of martial arts skills. The staff congratulated Lu Sheng for passing the rank 1 assessment, and he clarified that he had even surpassed the requirement for a rank 3 martial artist. The staff apologized to him, saying they couldn't give Lu Sheng grades now and wanted to report this matter to the higher-ups because they knew the association would not leave geniuses like him behind. The staff quickly ran to submit the report and stated that he would stake his entire career on this matter, promising to give Lu Sheng a satisfactory reply from the higher-ups. When he was about to leave, a huge form appeared from behind. His eyes glowed and his hand moved like a fast shadow. Xiao Changfeng extended his hand and introduced himself. Lu Sheng reached out his hand and introduced himself back. Xiao Changfeng was secretly delighted, and other people approached Lu Sheng and also introduced themselves. Lu Sheng quickly ran and left the assessment room. Outside the Martial Artists Association building, Lu Qinghe and her friend awaited their senior sister, Young Yuan, who was also taking an assessment certification. The girl in the middle, wearing a purple jacket, told them that a rank 1 martial artist certification assessment was a piece of cake for a genius like Sister Young Yuan. Lu Qinghe agreed with her. From afar, she saw her older brother coming out of the building. She called him, and when he approached, Lu Sheng asked what she was doing there. Lu Qinghe replied that she should be the one asking those questions. She knew Lu Sheng always skipped school and slept all day in his room, yet he dared to come to the Martial Arts Association. Lu Sheng wondered how his sister knew he spent most of his time sleeping in his room. He coughed, said he had some business, and asked what they were doing in the area. The girl in the purple jacket informed him that they were Lu Qinghe's classmates. She introduced herself as Feng Fun Fun, but her friends called her Fun Fun. She also introduced her classmate Su Nuwa, who was wearing a jumper. She added that they came to accompany their senior sister, Young Yuan, from their martial arts club, who was there to take the assessment. Fun Fun admired him for being handsome and let him know that he was different from what Lu Qinger had described. Lu Qinger's mouth widened, her beautiful appearance turning beastly, and she reprimanded Fun Fun. Lu Sheng patted her on the head and said goodbye. After leaving, the two were still arguing, and from a distance, Su Nuwa saw their senior sister. They approached her and asked about her assessment. Young Yuan sighed and begged them not to talk about the evaluation. She informed them that an unexpected incident had occurred, suspending all assessments until the afternoon. The trio wondered what kind of incident happened to put all assessments on hold. Young Yuan explained that a guy with the power level of a demon, the same age as her, had a vitality of 15.7 and a combat power that surpassed that of a rank 3 martial artist, with a combat power of more than 15,000. Young Yuan had always thought she was talented, but seeing that monster today made her realize that her tiny bit of talent was just a joke. The two girls felt worried for her, and Fun Fun asked for the name of this monster. When Young Yuan revealed the identity of Lu Sheng, they were astounded by what they had learned. On the other hand, Lu Sheng, eating his favorite bun, stopped in his tracks when he noticed 3 old ladies murmuring while looking at the people in black suits. Based on their murmuring, those guys in black suits were from the Hongchuan Martial Arts Academy and were looking for someone. They wondered who the unlucky guy was who had provoked the Hongchuan Martial Arts Academy. Looking at his phone ringing, Lu Sheng realized that Hongchuan was the place where he had taken his assessment. He ignored the call from Ma Fei. After all, every medicinal prescription from the future could easily fetch him massive riches. However, he must investigate further before deciding if they deserve to be the ones he worked with. At his home, Lu Sheng quickly went to sleep and entered his dream. He activated the hologram and asked Ellie to show him his biography. Information about him popped up. He read it and learned that he had become a level 2 martial artist at the age of 18 and caused a sensation in Baihe City. Later, he was recommended by the Baihe City Martial Arts Association to participate in the Dongning Province Genius Training Camp and entered the top 20 before training. Lu Sheng graduated from Dongning Martial Arts University 3 years later and served in the military. He retired with a military officer status 5 years later and founded the Shang Martial Arts Academy in Baihe City. He broke through to rank 6 martial artist at 45 years old but failed to break through to level 7 Grandmaster at 55 years old. In July of the 383rd year of martial arts, he died in an attack by a strange beast in Baihe City at the age of 87. After reading this, Lu Sheng was sure enough that the future could be changed, or at least his future could be changed. 1 week ago, he was still just a rank 4 martial artist who died at the age of 37. Now he had become a rank 6 martial artist who lived into his 80s and even had the chance of becoming a rank 7 master. However, this was far from enough. To the world and the future, this tiny change was utterly meaningless. Lu Sheng wanted to change the fate of mankind and rip the course of the entire world's future in 10,000 years off its tracks. A rank 6 martial artist was nothing. In fact, even a rank 7 master, a rank 8 grandmaster, or a rank 9 martial saint would be helpless in the face of such a future. If Lu Sheng wanted to shift the trajectory of their fate and change the ending, he must reach the martial arts peak, advancing to rank 10 or even rank 11. Only then would there be a shred of hope. Even though there was only a faint glimmer of hope, Lu Sheng wouldn't hold back since he had chosen this path. On the other hand, somewhere in Baihe City, a man named Xiao Yuhe was writing while talking to someone on the screen. The man on the screen praised his calligraphy and added that he was sure that in time, President Xiao would advance to a rank 7 master. He also mentioned that if only Xiao could put as much effort into nurturing people, it would be even better. Xiao Yuhe, the assistant director of Baihe Martial Artist Association and a rank 6 martial artist, laughed and asked the elder not to make fun of him. He clarified that he also wanted Baihe City to produce more martial arts talents. He reminded the elder that Baihe City lacked established martial arts families and did not have the abundant resources needed to support them, adding that any seedling with an inkling of talent would think of all the ways and means to go somewhere else. So even if he wanted to, there was nothing he could do. Before ending the call, the elder reminded him that the training camp was around the corner, and if they didn't send a participant, it would be utterly humiliating for their big city. To his dismay, Xiao Yuhe crumpled the paper. He wanted to discover talent, accomplish achievements, and progress too. If he could get to a higher position and obtain those resources, he wouldn't waste time with this calligraphy. He had been stuck at his rank for too long. His sad momentum was interrupted when a girl in panic, holding some papers and a tablet, and wearing glasses with a sexy body, entered his office. She said that some situations had cropped up in the martial arts assessment area. Xiao Yuher asked why she panicked and didn't even knock. The secretary apologized and informed him that the examiner had just given her very important news and explained about Lu Sheng. He quickly snatched the tablet from her and asked for the recordings. Looking at the record, he explained that Lu Sheng had a perfection stage fist technique. For someone his age to have polished a fist technique to the perfection stage, there wouldn't be more than 10 people in the world on par with him. Upon realizing what he said, he knew that even with a perfection stage fist technique, it was impossible to achieve a combat power of 15,000 with a vitality of only 15.7. After all, a perfection stage fist technique would buff one's combat power at least twofold. The secretary blushed when Xiao Yuher lifted her up. He was so happy that 1 in a billion gifted martial artists had appeared in by her city. As she was swayed by Xiao Yuher, she asked what gifted martial arts meant. He explained that among cultivators, some are endowed with extraordinary gifts. They are capable of awakening supreme power that's beyond the imagination of regular people. After awakening, they will see a significant surge in their vitality and obtain unique talents. Some will have shockingly explosive power, while others become as fast as electricity. They are known as gifted martial artists. He quickly put on his red suit and planned to go to Lu Sheng's house to greet and thank Lu Sheng's parents for giving birth to such a gifted son. On the other hand, Ni Shuang's junior brother said that they had found the guy. Ni Shuang asked him to elaborate. He explained that the guy's name was Lu Sheng, a student at by her high school. His father was a delivery man at Shanxing Logistics, and his mother was a cashier at Jiahe Supermarket. He also has a younger sister who is in her freshman year of high school, and they live nearby in building block 15 of the Bilan district. Her junior brother asks what happened. Did Lu Sheng offend her somehow? Because he's just a poor kid from an ordinary family, there's no need to hold a grudge against him. Ni Shuang told him to shut up because it isn't what he think. After explaining, Ni Shuang received a call and learned from the caller that Xiao Yuher had already made his move. She ordered her junior brother to buy some luxurious gifts that were suitable for parents and a teenage girl. Without question, he quickly followed her order. A while later, at Lu Sheng's house, his cultivation was interrupted when Lu Qinghe knocked at his door. She told him to come out as he had visitors. Looking in the mirror, he realized that it had been a long time since he heard Lu Qinghe call him Big Brother. In the living room, their mother told him to come closer. Xiao Yuher stood up, introduced himself, and told him he had come to see him about his certification assessment. Lu Sheng greeted him and introduced himself. Xiao Yuher noticed that Lu Sheng was calm and collected. Based on this steady temperament alone, Lu Sheng was a rare sight. Lu Sheng asked who the girl with the ponytail was as he sat down. Xiao Yuher told him that it was Ni Shuang from Hongchuan Martial Arts Academy. Ni Shuang greeted him and reminded him they had met at the dojo. Lu Sheng replied, saying that it was nice to meet her. Xiao Yuher explained his purpose for coming. On behalf of the By Her Martial Arts Association, he would give Lu Sheng his official Rank 2 martial artist badge and a monthly allowance the same as the Rank 3 martial artists. But that took something out of his pocket and informed him that they wished Lu Sheng to participate in the Prodigy training camp, which would be held in Dongning Province. Ni Shuang stood in shock and explained that the training camp is where the most talented martial artist geniuses are gathered. However, it's also a place where geniuses are ruined. A senior brother in their martial arts academy, who everyone had the highest hopes for, had attended this very camp in the past. Upon returning, he, who was always spirited and full of vigor, was utterly defeated and simply faded into the background. She also added that with Lu Sheng's talent, he doesn't need to take such a risk. Xiao Yuher intervened and agreed with what she said. However, he knew that Lu Sheng was different. From the proficiency and ability he had displayed, the heights he would reach in the future would definitely be far greater than what he has now. Xiao Yuher handed him the invitation, saying that whatever Lu Sheng's decision was, he would respect it. Lu Sheng smiled and accepted the invitation. He told Chairman Xiao that he was right because this isn't his limit yet. President Xiao Yu sighed in relief and informed Lu Sheng that he would pick him up in 2 days. He said goodbye and left. Before Ni Shuang departed, Lu Sheng wanted to know why she had come. She froze and blushed before she spoke, coughing and thinking that Lu Sheng seemed a lot more handsome than in the picture. She wanted to invite Lu Sheng to become an honorary disciple of the Hongchuan Martial Arts Academy. Lu Sheng wanted her to elaborate. Ni Shuang pointed out that it was the same as being a disciple, just that he didn't have to turn up every day and could come whenever he wanted to. All classes and equipment would be free, and he could even have her father instruct him personally. He would get to enjoy the treatment accorded to the highest-ranking instructors. It was just a nominal title, and he wouldn't have any obligation to fulfill it. After explaining, she thought that if she successfully recruited Lu Sheng, their martial arts academy would blow up by her city, and the number of parents rushing to send their kids would be unimaginable. Her thought was interrupted when Lu Sheng declined the offer. Ni Shuang stood up and argued that the terms could be negotiated, and he didn't need to reject her so hastily. Lu Sheng explained that he was okay with being an honorary member. She could advertise that Lu Sheng usually comes to train in their academy, which is indeed true. However, other than that, he wanted to refuse. He was not a disciple of their martial arts academy, so he didn't want them to say that he was one of their disciples. Lu Sheng clarified that if she could accept what he said, then it was fine. If not, then he was sorry. He also added that he would still be going there to do his assessments in the future since it was close to his home. Ni Shuang accepted his demand and promised that she would issue his monthly stipend immediately when she got back. It would be delivered straight to Lu Sheng's house, and his stipend would be around $100,000. She then said goodbye. When the door shut, Lu Sheng's parents asked him if they were not dreaming. They still couldn't believe everything that had happened. The chairman of the Baihe City Martial Arts Association personally came. Lu Sheng got a considerable reward and a big salary. They also wanted to know when he became a rank 2 martial artist. Lu Sheng held his mother's hand and told them that all of this was true, and they were not dreaming. From now on, their lives would change. He didn't want his parents to work anymore. On the other hand, at the Xingshan Medicinal Hall, her Su bit her fingernail. She was frustrated that it had been a week, yet she didn't have any information about the genius alchemist. She looked through all the information of the recently registered alchemical masters, but there was nothing. Lu Sheng's tonic was several times stronger than the grade 1 and 2 tonics based on the standards issued by the Alchemical Masters Association. It even surpassed most of the grade 3 tonics on the market. On top of that, a grade 3 tonic can cost up to several $100,000, but Lu Sheng's tonic only cost less than $3,000. In her frustration, she slammed her desk, which frightened the pervert Ma Fei. His mouth widened when he saw someone. He informed his boss that he had found the alchemical master. Her Su stood up and asked where the master was. He pointed to the monitor containing news about Lu Sheng. The seductive Her Su couldn't believe that the alchemical master was just a student. On the other hand, at Shuhai City's lonely Fox Mountain, a bird about to land was suddenly overtaken by something as swift as lightning. It turned out it was Lu Sheng. As he swiftly ran, he didn't think the stellar impact could be used on a body technique like this. With 4 times the power from stellar implications, along with the techniques he absorbed in his dream, his body technique prowess had also reached new heights. His speed was now at least 5 times faster than that of a regular rank 2 martial artist. He called it the cloud-chasing step. When he reached the top of the mountain, he started cultivating the natural breathing technique. With every breath, he was able to absorb energy from the air while continually replenishing his stamina. He also constantly activated his body's latent capacity. At the same time, he could also sense everything in his surroundings. He could feel the changes in all of nature's creations integrating themselves between heaven and earth. He released a decisive blow, and a massive impact could be seen. Lu Sheng was delighted that he had a breakthrough. His vitality had increased, and his stellar impact had become even more powerful. He could probably exert 6 times the power now. He came to this mountain to gather the materials needed for the marrow-nourishing elixir. He never thought he would make such an enormous breakthrough in his cultivation. Lu Sheng had almost finished all the muscle and blood-strengthening decoctions he had made earlier. With his growth, they were becoming less and less effective. He had to begin refining the marrow-nourishing elixir. The medicinal value of this herb had not yet been uncovered in this era. Without the system's information, it would have been impossible for him to find this unassuming little thing. He had already ordered the rest of the herbs he would need at the base of the mountain, and he thought they were already prepared by this time. Using his cloud-chasing step, he quickly ran to the base of the mountain. A moment later, at the base of Lonely Fox Mountain, Lu Sheng approached a man wearing green clothes and told him that he was the one who ordered some herbs. Lu Sheng wanted to know if the herb was ready for pickup. The vendor greeted him and informed him that all his orders were gathered, and he didn't have to worry. As he analyzed the herbs, the man told him that all the herbs were very fresh and mature enough to be used. Lu Sheng took out the money and informed the vendor that he would get 10 stalks based on what they agreed earlier, each stalk costing $500. He intended to hand over the payment, but the vendor said not to be impatient and clarified that it was not $500 a stalk, but $1,000. He also added that Lu Sheng needed to buy all the medicinal herbs. Lu Sheng looked at the vendor and thought for a moment before asking what he meant. Knowing Lu Sheng was not from Shuhai City, the vendor told him he needed to play according to their rules. Behind the vendor were his comrades, grimacing at their new victim. One man in an orange sando was warming up his fist, while another with a knife was licking his dagger like a peanut. The vendor asked Lu Sheng if his parents hadn't taught him to acknowledge defeat when he had to. Seeing that the goons were trying to force him to buy their goods, Lu Sheng released his aura and looked at them confidently. The vendor stepped backward, warning Lu Sheng not to pull anything and informing him that they were all rank 1 martial artists. There were no surveillance cameras in the area, so even if he called the police, they wouldn't believe an outsider like Lu Sheng. As the goons rushed forward, the vendor advised him to be a good boy so he wouldn't get beaten to a pulp. Lu Sheng put his hand on a boulder and smashed it with a little force, resulting in the boulder cracking. The goons froze in their positions as if they saw their father holding a stick. Sweat emerged from their bodies, and they swallowed the words they had said earlier. On the other hand, Lu Sheng grabbed a piece of rock, clenched his fists, and reminded them of the words they said earlier. Given the situation, wasn't it time to acknowledge defeat? He opened his hand with a trace of crushed rock and cleaned it using both his palms. The goons knelt and in a panic, apologized, calling him Big Brother, but correcting it to Father and adding that they were blind. Knowing that the goons would not continue fighting him, Lu Sheng asked if he could get the herbs. The vendor saluted him, called him Father, and informed him that he could get all the herbs for free. Carrying a basket of herbs, Lu Sheng wanted to teach them one thing on behalf of their parents. He advised them that a business should be based on honesty and trust. They shouldn't cheat a person, whether young or old. The 5 little monkeys raised their hands and thanked Lu Sheng for his excellent advice, promising that they would take a new path. In Lu Sheng's mind, he wanted to pay them, but since they didn't like it, he couldn't do anything. Now that he had acquired all of the ingredients, it was time for him to prepare for the training camp. On the other hand, still raising his hand with a gloomy face, the vendor wondered if all students were now as strong as Lu Sheng. He assumed that the kid was at least rank 3 in martial arts. The next day, Lu Sheng got off the military vehicle upon arriving at the Dongning Province Prodigy Training Camp. He looked around, continued walking, and thought the training camp was like an army base. He saw the badges of other participants and wondered if they were supposed to wear those. He recalled that his mother had put his badge on display in their house, and he forgot to bring it here. A security guard approached him and asked where he was from and why he was alone. Lu Sheng informed the guard that he was from by her city and that something had come up, so he was late. A girl in pink informed a guy in yellow that the representative from by her city had already entered yesterday and wondered why they had left Lu Sheng behind. The guy in yellow assumed that the organization might have included Lu Sheng at the last minute. Based on his observation, Lu Sheng didn't even have a badge. He informed the girl that by her city hadn't sent a representative for years, but now they sent 2 participants. After seeing Lu Sheng's information, the guard remembered that the president had mentioned him earlier. The guy in yellow laughed and made fun of him, saying that Lu Sheng was just someone who had the city association president's favor. He went on to say that being associated with the chairman was even more impressive than being a rank 3 martial artist. He wondered how many gifts Lu Sheng received privately from the by her city president. The guard got irritated and told them to be quiet. He then ordered Lu Shang to go in with the people from Qingyuan City. At the entrance ceremony, the guard told him to leave his luggage on the floor and the other staff would collect it later. Lu Shang followed his order and arrived at the entrance ceremony. Upon entering, he looked at the ground after noticing something. The gate started to close, and the participants got confused. They wondered what was going on and why they had to be locked up. The guard earlier told them to be quiet and explained that their mission was to get to the exit opposite the corridor on their own. If they succeeded, they would pass the entrance exam, and those who failed could pack their bags and go home. After the guard wished them good luck, the participants started panicking. They thought this was just a simple entrance ceremony. The floor opened, and they all fell. Lu Shang landed smoothly, while the gray-haired man bumped his chin on the ground. He then sat, held his chin, and cried like a baby. Lu Shang turned his attention to one of the entrances, closed his eyes, and analyzed what was behind the wall using his psychic power. Lu Shang discovered that this place was not an ordinary corridor. He was amazed at his psychic power and compared it to the novels. The guy in orange, Lin Xiaoyu, started talking. He felt bored because he thought there was something special in the entrance exam. The man in blue scolded Lin Xiaoyu for not informing him that there was something wrong with the entrance ceremony. Lin Xiaoyu arrogantly explained that he had no right to call himself a martial artist if he didn't even have the slightest ability to adjust to his circumstances. Lin Xiaoyu warned the guy in blue not to call himself a genius of Qingyuan City when he got out because he would just ruin Lin Xiaoyu's reputation. The guy in blue got full of himself and called him a son of a cat. The brown-hair girl tried to stop them and said that they were all from the same city. It wasn't easy for them to enter the training camp, so they should be united. The most important thing right now was for them to find a way to clear the assessment. Lin Xiaoyu agreed with her and added that Qingyuan should stand united. It wouldn't be good if any of them failed the exam because this was the prodigy training camp. Lin Xiaoyu was sure that the entrance assessment wasn't simple. He then pointed at Lu Shang because he was the odd one. He wondered if Lu Shang would be so kind as to be the first to scout the area. The brown-hair girl worried for Lu Shang, while the guy in blue laughed, thinking of baby Lu Shang like a rat who would fall into the trap. Lu Shang sighed and told Lin Xiaoyu to get out of his way if he didn't plan to go in. In a mocking tone, Lin Xiaoyu called him a by-her kid and praised his confidence. He wished Lu Shang good luck and told him they would help if he begged for it. With a smirk, Lu Shang looked at him and stated that predators always move alone. Only cows and sheep move in groups. Lin Xiaoyu was offended by Lu Shang's comment and asked what he meant, pointing his finger at Lu Shang and threatening to kill him for calling him a sheep. Lu Shang didn't mind him and stepped forward as pink balls dropped from the ceiling. Lin Xiaoyu was taken aback, but Lu Shang remained calm, watching the balls slowly turn into giant puppets. The arrogant Lin Xiaoyu, now taken aback, wondered if the people behind the training camp were trying to kill them, knowing that the weakest of these giant mechanical puppets could be compared to an official rank 1 martial artist. The other participants started to worry about themselves and wondered what they should do now. Lu Shang remembered that these puppets could be programmed to perform all sorts of high-level martial arts and that a top-grade one was on par with a rank 4 martial artist. However, building a top-grade mechanical puppet costs a lot more than nurturing a rank 4 martial artist. Lu Shang was amazed after seeing a mechanical puppet in real life. Still belittling Lu Shang, Lin Xiaoyu wondered if Lu Shang was a retard. He revealed that once the puppet got activated, it would automatically attack the moment it sensed a living being's presence. Grade 1 mechanical puppets were made of a special alloy, and their fists were tough as anything. The guy in blue assumed that Lu Shang wasn't even a rank 1 martial artist and might become a retard once he got punched by the puppet. Beside him, the brown-hair girl worriedly shouted at Lu Shang to watch out. The mechanical puppet tried to punch Lu Shang, but Lu Shang remained unfazed and just looked at the approaching fist of the robot. A cloud of smoke could be seen, and a strong wind could be felt after that powerful punch. Lin Xiaoyu was smiling, while covering his face to avoid unexpected things that might hit him. On the other hand, Lu Shang stood firm after single-handedly blocking the puppet attack. The two arrogant participants were shocked and disappointed after realizing that Lu Shang managed to stop the puppet attack and crush the puppet's fist. Lu Shang asked, "Is that all a robot got?" He lifted the puppet, held it tightly in his fingers, and smashed it into the ceiling. Almost all participants were stunned and wondered if Lu Sheng was even human. Lin Xiaoyu laughed while scratching his head and told them that Lu Sheng almost fooled them. He explained that those puppets were not really rank 1 grade but just junk that looked scary. He assumed no one would pass the exam if they put so many puppets with rank 1 martial art abilities. He then pointed at Lu Sheng and insisted that there was no way trash like him could withstand a real mechanical puppet. However, the participants didn't believe him, so he stopped explaining and called them idiots, telling them to open their eyes to see how he could get past the puppets. Lin Xiaoyu stepped forward to jump and kick the puppet in the head, full of confidence. His arrogant buddy was amazed and believed that those puppets were fake. Lin Xiaoyu turned around, stepped on the head of the robot, opened his arms, and proudly told them that what he said was true. But the puppet swung its fist and punched Lin Xiaoyu in the face, sending him crashing into the wall in a pose like an Egyptian wall sculpture. Lin Xiaoyu cursed himself after realizing that those puppets were indeed not grade 1 but grade 2. The puppet that punched him just put its head back while the guy in blue held his beaten comrade, who now had 2 apples on his face. The brown-haired girl was thinking about what exactly Lu Sheng's rank was if he easily defeated the grade 2 mechanical puppet. Meanwhile, Lu Sheng continued walking as if the robots were nothing. He was aware of the puppet core, and all he needed to do was touch their core lightly to defeat them. He felt bored after destroying a lot of puppets and continued walking to the exit door as if the mechanical puppets were just clutter. One of the examiners was confused after knowing that the newly acquired mechanical puppets had all been malfunctioning. He was aware that all the participants were a bunch of kids who had newly reached rank 1, and there was no way they could destroy a grade 2 mechanical puppet. After exiting the first gate, Lu Sheng mistook the examiner for the gatekeeper of the second trial. The examiner wondered when he had become the gatekeeper for the second trial. Lu Sheng made a move using the combination of cloud-chasing steps and times 10 stellar impact, expecting that the gatekeeper wouldn't disappoint him. The mistaken examiner, still confused, couldn't help but look at the approaching Lu Sheng. Inside the monitoring room, a girl named Dong Qingxue with long gray hair, a pair of black stockings, and a black skirt uniform combined with a red polo inside was earnestly looking at the monitor while typing. She was disturbed when a man with green hair, wearing a yellow flowery long sleeve and holding a cup of coffee in his hand, entered the room while humming. He said Dong Qingxue was already there. Dong Qingxue addressed him as Major Qin Xiaojun and reminded him not to call her by name. She ordered him to come and review the materials. Qin Xiaojun followed her order, sat, and called her Lieutenant Colonel Dong Qingxue. He asked about the participants' quality in this year's Prodigy training camp. Dong Qingxue sighed and rubbed her forehead before explaining that only 8 participants met the standard. They were all official martial artists whose gifts had been awakened. Looking at the monitor while comfortably sitting on the chair, Qin Xiaojun noticed that 5 participants on the monitor were ordinary, and their gifts were all related to strength. As for the other 3, there was an agility type and a defense type. He straightened his body after seeing a girl with psychic ability. Dong Qingxue elaborated that the psychic-type martial artist was the most outstanding of all the participants. She informed Qin Xiaojun that the girl's name was Xialin, and she was 18 years and 8 months old. Her psychic gift was awakened less than 2 years ago, and she was already on the verge of reaching the standard of a rank 1 mentalist. Xialin was also talented in martial arts and was almost ranked 2. Qin Xiaojun praised the participant and noticed that Xialin was as genius as Dong Qingxue when they were just participants. Dong Qingxue cut his nonsense and informed him that she would list Xialin as the primary target of this year's training camp. As he laughed and pushed other buttons, he was stunned and almost poured his coffee after seeing something on the monitor. Dong Qingxue was also surprised after seeing this. Her mouth opens in shock. Meanwhile, in Assessment Hall 7, a mechanized puppet was crushed against the wall after Xialin used her psychic power. She sensed something dangerous on the other wall with at least rank 3 abilities. Realizing that the person didn't attack her, she assumed it was one of the supervisors responsible for the assessment. Upon exiting the assessment hall, she was surprised to see some commotion. Armed security was intensely waiting for someone to come outside. Curious, she scanned behind the wall using her psychic power and saw 2 humans about to fight. Puzzled, because she knew the participant's opponent must be a robot and not a human, she wondered who the person with the intense aura was. She was taken aback and frightened when Lu Shang gave her a gaze. She stepped backward, used her psychic power to close the door, and the guards were confused by her action. Embracing herself, terrified and feeling a bolt of fear grip her heart, the guards felt relieved after seeing Qin Xiaojun and Dong Qingxue. Qin Xiaojun asked about the current situation and looked for the supervisor in charge. The guard informed him that the surveillance camera near the entrance had all been destroyed and they lost contact with the supervisor 3 minutes ago, so they were not sure what was happening. Qin Xiaojun ordered one of the guards to give him the information of everyone who went into passage 12, but after seeing the wall start to open, Dong Qingxue told him it was not needed anymore. Sweat emerged on the guards' faces as they prepared for battle. Lu Shang came out of the assessment room after the door opened, and the guards felt relieved after realizing it was just a student. Their expressions suddenly changed upon seeing Lu Shang drag the supervisor, knowing that the kid was not from Qingyuan City. Dong Qingxue asked who he was. Lu Shang dropped the supervisor, introduced himself, and informed them that he was from by her city. Qin Xiaojun smirked and told him he had some nerve after recklessly destroying the mechanical puppets and beating up the supervising instructor. Lu Shang scratched his face and explained that it was a misunderstanding. He thought the supervisor was part of the entrance exam and didn't hold back because the supervisor was strong. Dong Qingxue looked at him before releasing her purple aura to scare Lu Shang, who was now standing in front of the unconscious supervisor. Lu Shang just looked at her as if her aura was nothing. Dong Qingxue then closed her eyes and congratulated him for passing the entrance exam. She then pointed out the way and told him to get some rest and that one of the staff would lead him to the dorms. Holding Lu Shang's records, Qin Xiaojun addressed the kid as crazy and added that he watched the recordings and found that the rank 2 mechanical puppets became nothing but mere toys in his hands. But according to his records, Lu Shang only has 15 vitality with a combat power of 15,000. He wondered how it could be possible. Dong Qingxue revealed that she assessed Lu Shang with her psychic energy but didn't sense anything, and Lu Shang didn't even react. Qin Xiaojun wanted to know her plan to deal with the monster Lu Shang. Dong Qingxue explained that she hadn't any plans yet. However, the stats in Lu Shang's file were definitely no longer accurate. She then suggested that they should nurture him as a top priority, like Xiaolin. She felt that this year's selection was going to be interesting. Meanwhile, Lu Shang thought of Dong Qingxue's psychic power. He was aware that her psychic power was at least 5 times stronger than his. He had retracted all his psychic energy earlier and wondered if Dong Qingxue had discovered anything. The staff informed Lu Shang that it was mealtime and suggested that they should eat first before going to the dorm. Embracing the hungry worms inside his tummy, Lu Shang thanked him and apologized for the trouble. He then asked if he could eat as much as he wanted. The staff told him he could eat as much as he wanted for his first meal. Lu Shang then ordered a lot of food and ate like there was no tomorrow, while a guy shockingly looked at him. Lu Shang praised the taste of the food and ordered again for 10 servings. A girl approached him and wanted to confirm if he was Lu Shang. It turned out that she was Young Yuan, the senior of her sister. She introduced herself and informed him that she was also a representative from by her city. She revealed that they met at the martial artist assessment and asked if she could sit. Lu Shang didn't answer her and protected his food. He informed her that the food was unlimited and she could get more for herself. With a vain effect in her head and clenched teeth, Young Yuan thought she was not here to eat his food. Besides, he had just said the food was unlimited. Lu Shang disturbed her thoughts and told her that according to the chairman, by her city hadn't had a representative for years and wondered what was going on. Young Yuan explained that by her city sent representatives yearly, but no one managed to pass the entrance assessment exam. Even if they managed to pass the assessment, they were asked to leave soon because they didn't score enough points. After all that hard work, they only ended up being a stepping stone for others, and no one would want to put that in their resume. Lu Shang wondered what points she was talking about. Young Yuan explained that points were the currency inside the training camp. He would have to spend points if he wanted to use training camp resources. They could use the points on training equipment, ask the instructor about cultivation, get tonics, and even secure lodging, all of which required the expenditure of points. She revealed that the monster meat he was eating was also an exclusive military ration, and he could only get more by spending points. She made a 3-finger symbol, indicating that only 3 people in the entire training camp had earned points. Still eating, Lu Sheng was curious why it was only 3 and asked how they got their points. Yang Yuan elaborated that they could only get points by passing tests and assessments. There was Chao Yong, a rank 2 gifted martial artist from Yonglin City who had the gift of stone skin. Next was Meng Jinghe, a rank 2 gifted martial artist from Donggang City who had speed type ability. Before revealing the last one, she turned her head in another direction. She revealed that the last person's gift was rarer than a gifted martial artist, and that her abilities were mentalist with psychic power. According to what she heard, Xia Lin's ability was the strongest among all the participants this year. Having a psychic power, Xia Lin sensed them and looked at them. She was shocked upon seeing Lu Sheng, who was focused on eating. Her soup spilled, her eyes became blank, and she trembled like an old woman. Xia Lin turned around, used her power to balance her food, and tried to get out of sight of the monster. However, Lu Sheng noticed her and commented that Xia Lin's ability was impressive. Yong Yuan asked if he knew Xia Lin. Lu Sheng answered that he met Xia Lin after passing the entrance exam and wondered if only 3 people really cleared the assessment. Yong Yuan remembered the 4th person and made a gun finger before explaining the rumor about the 4th person. She informed him that the 4th person was terrifyingly strong and single-handedly destroyed all the grade 2 mechanical puppets. She added that the person was a demented maniac and even beat the supervising instructor to the point that he had to be sent to the hospital. Lu Sheng almost spat his water after hearing this, realizing Yong Yuan was talking about him. Yong Yuan continued, saying there was no way such a person existed, so she didn't believe the rumors. Lu Sheng, after almost spitting out his water, listened as Yong Yuan mentioned that the instructors and other staff at the camp were talented and strong. Even Lu Sheng, the monster, who shook by her city, couldn't compare to them. She then handed her handkerchief to Lu Sheng, telling him not to worry and that she believed in him. Unaware of the 3 guards behind her, Yong Yuan continued to say that with Lu Sheng's abilities and talent, he might not be any weaker than them if he focused on training at the camp. Using Yong Yuan's handkerchief, Lu Sheng thanked her. She was startled when one of the staff called Lu Sheng, informing him that because he destroyed 18 mechanical puppets in the entrance assessment and beat up the supervising instructor who was still unconscious in the hospital, they must take him in for questioning. He then asked Lu Sheng to come with them. Yong Yuan turned pale, her mouth widening in shock after hearing this. Almost all participants who listened to this had the same reaction, almost spilling their food while looking toward Lu Sheng. Lu Sheng stood up and agreed to go with them, asking if he could take some food because he was still hungry. The guard, with a fierce look, answered affirmatively. Before leaving, Lu Sheng apologized to Yong Yuan and said goodbye. After they left, the participants were in disbelief that the rumors about the monster were true. Yong Yuan turned into a statue, laughed like crazy, and swallowed what she had said earlier. Inside the command and control center, Lu Sheng slowly approached Dong Qingxue in a trembling state. Upon getting closer, Dong Qingxue elaborated on what he did. He cleared out half a year's worth of their budget just like that and informed him that the mechanical puppets cost tens of millions, and not a single one of the mechanical puppets could be repaired. However, after some discussion, they decided not to act against him. After all, Lu Sheng was just doing what he was supposed to in the assessment, and it wasn't his fault. Suddenly, the door opened, and Qin Xiaojun entered with 3 participants. Qin Xiaojun informed all the participants that everyone who cleared the assessment was now gathered. They looked at each other while Xia Lin shook like a worm. Dong Qingxue commended them and congratulated them for clearing the entrance assessment. She then summoned golden cards and explained that in this training camp, the stronger they are, the more resources they will receive. Once they accumulate a certain amount of points, it will be restored as a points card. Chao Yong happily looked at the golden card, remembering that his teacher had mentioned it to him before he came here, and he noticed it had 100 points. Meng Jinghe was also satisfied because he was in the lead. Xia Lin thought that 100 points were enough for her to get the legendary high-level Chief Psychic Mentalist instructor to give her one-on-one training, but her smile turned to confusion when she saw that Lu Sheng's card was white. The 2 participants also noticed this. Lu Sheng, having never heard about the white card, flipped it and found out that monster meat cost 5 points for every meal, the training room cost 10 points per hour, Regular instructor training cost 30 points per session, and chief and deputy chief instructor training cost 100 points. But eating meat was the most useful thing for Lu Shang. So Qin Shaojun almost fell to the ground after hearing this. Qin Shaojun pointed his finger at Lu Shang and told him to be grateful for what he had gotten. He revealed that Lu Shang's card had 1,000 points, and if it weren't for their chief instructor keeping the higher-ups at by her city at bay, Lu Shang would be in debt for the damages he had caused. The other participants were stunned and confused after hearing that Lu Shang had 1,000 points. Chao Yong grinned, thinking that the training camp was only about those who had special abilities, and he was disappointed that there would be special favors. Meng Jinghe wondered what kind of connection Lu Shang had, but Xia Lin asked them with a trembling voice if they knew what Lu Shang did during the assessment. Shaking in anger, Chao Yong announced that he knew that Lu Shang spread rumors about himself and bribed the students and the instructors. He tore his shirt and continued to say that the supervising instructors were all at least rank 3 martial artists, and only rank 4 martial artists could beat them. Even if Lu Shang had the strongest physical type gift, it would still be impossible. Besides, Lu Shang's body didn't even look like he had polished his vitality. If the training camp method was that the strongest would have the most resources, Chao Yong wanted Lu Shang to prove he was worth it. Qin Shaojun tried to stop them, but Dong Qingxue stretched her hand, signaling not to interfere. Lu Shang sighed and asked if Chao Yong was sure about this. With a fierce sigh, Chao Yong cut the crap and told him to bring it on, saying he would like to see if Lu Shang could get past his stone skin. Before he could finish his words, Lu Shang positioned his finger before Chao Yong's forehead and flicked it with the stellar finger flick technique. With a boom, Chao Yong's arrogant head was sent to another universe. Using a light force, the wall became Chao Yong's cave, and he could now rest for a while. On the other hand, Lu Shang just looked at the broken wall and assumed he wouldn't have to pay for it because Chao Yong had asked for it. Seeing the body of Chao Yong lying on the wrecked wall, the two participants were shocked and surprised. Qin Shaojun exhaled a humming tone, while Lu Shang wondered if he could go now. Dong Qingxue called Lu Shang and asked about his plans for training. She offered herself and told him that with his points, he can have Dong Qingxue train him personally. Before leaving the room, Lu Shang thanked the chief for her offer, but said he was not interested because he had more important things to do. Qin Shaojun was curious about what could be more important than receiving personal training from the chief commanding officer. The two participants were also surprised by Lu Shang's answer. Lu Shang stopped, turned his head, and informed them that he was going to sleep. The two were puzzled, and Meng Jinghe's eyes grew bigger after hearing this. On the other hand, while Dong Qingxue was also puzzled, Qin Shaojun laughed so hard in disbelief. A few moments later, while the guards were carrying Chao Yong on the stretcher, the two officers were observing Lu Shang, who was now going to enter his room. Seeing this made Qin Shaojun realize that Lu Shang was serious about what he said earlier. He really went back to get some sleep. On the other hand, Dong Qingxue wondered what Lu Shang was thinking, knowing there were no resources inside the dorms. It was the first time Qin Shaojun had met such an interesting gifted one. He suggested letting Lu Shang do what he wants. Dong Qingxue told Qin Shaojun that he didn't understand and explained that Lu Shang was like a top-grade grindstone that could stimulate rapid growth for others. Qin Shaojun wondered if she was talking about a grindstone stronger than all the blades out there. Dong Qingxue asked if he could still remember the person Ding Pong. Thinking of Ding Pong made Qin Shaojun's chest hurt. Back then, Ding Pong overpowered everyone in the training camp and trampled all of them under his feet. He stated that Ding Pong deserved the title of king. Dong Qingxue agreed with him and added that people with physical-type gifts have an enormous advantage over others in the early stages. They can easily hit a combat power of tens of thousands and even defeat enemies above their rank. However, ability is not just strength alone. There is skill, speed, observation skill, judgment, experience, tactics, strategy, and so on. In the process of growth and accumulating experience, people who only know how to rely on the power accorded by their physical-type gifts will fade away eventually. She assumed that it might be Lu Shang's future too. Meanwhile, in Lu Shang's dream, he was fighting a zombie and it looked like he was having difficulty defeating this one. The zombie made another powerful blow. Lu Shang grabbed the zombie's fist and pushed it away. He then pierced its legs, prepared the stellar impact technique, and blew it directly into the zombie's body. After that, he held the zombie's arm and absorbed its ability. As he did so, he discovered that the zombie was a rank 6 martial artist when it was alive, the same as Chairman Xiao Yuhe at the Martial Artist Association. He no longer wondered why he had difficulty fighting this zombie. He could have been defeated if he hadn't used all of his psychic energy to block the zombie's attack. Martial arts combat experience and different techniques are the true abilities he needs to gain from his dreamscape. But human strength is limited, and it's impossible for anyone to be talented in everything. However, Lu Sheng stands on the shoulders of countless people, multifaceted and without flaws or blind spots. Clenching his fist, Lu Sheng claimed that his path in martial arts was the complete martial arts. He then sat and thought of his psychic energy. If it wasn't for this ability, he wouldn't have been able to take even a single blow from this zombie. It's a shame that his psychic energy is of the most basic type, and he can only use it against zombies for now. In his current status, Lu Sheng was aware that he is no match for an actual rank 6 martial artist. He then went inside his psychic energy training and focused on it without any external distractions. He needed to engage his inner mind and refine the mind. A dazzling light slowly emerged from the giant Lu Sheng. He was sucked inside and, as he wondered, he was thrown into the core of his mind. As his psychic power and actual body emerged, he shouted in pain. Glasses shuddered due to his massive psychic aura. After a moment, he was delighted that he had succeeded in advancing again. Lu Sheng pushed the watch button to summon Ellie and ordered her to retrieve his biography. Ellie followed his order and showed Lu Sheng's biography. He was so glad after learning that he had become a rank 7 martial master. If this were in ancient times, these powers would have been similar to a feudal lord. Even in Lu Sheng's current world, that is a high-status position. Now that he was a martial art master, Lu Sheng wondered if his evaluation and permissions access had increased too. He then asked to look up the advanced techniques of stellar body refining art, natural breathing techniques, and crystal visualization techniques. Ellie started to follow his orders, and multiple screens showed the results of the 3 techniques he asked for. Just as he thought, with level 3 clearance access, he could now look up higher level techniques. One of the techniques caught his attention. He slowly touched it to see the information, and to his surprise, this was a complete martial arts technique on its own. The divine illumination of the King of Hell. Still in shock while looking at the techniques, Lu Sheng wasn't surprised that the technique wasn't in the combat skill selection because it's an art specially designed for psychic mentalists. It includes techniques on how to use psychic energy, battle tips, and most importantly, this art is entirely different from other psychic arts. The essence of divine illumination of the King of Hell is to use psychic energy to create another body from within the martial artist. In other words, it's a second self, and the clone is so intricate that it duplicates the martial artist's muscles, cells, and even genes. All of this is just for one objective: to strengthen oneself from all angles without leaving a single opening. The first level of divine illumination of the King of Hell is to use psychic energy to strengthen one's organs and, as a result, amplify one's vitality. That is precisely what Lu Sheng needs the most right now. Even though he already has ways to amplify his combat power, his vitality is still unchanged, which keeps him from improving. If he can break through this obstacle, he will be able to enhance all of his stats using psychic energy to affect the martial artist's vitality. Lu Sheng admitted that he underestimated the martial arts knowledge accumulated over 10,000 years. Still, in his era, this art wasn't even something that could be conceived, let alone created. After seeing the name of Duan Yifeng, Lu Sheng recognized him as an exceptional talent, 1 in a million, and his existence is even above among rank 11 powerhouses. Lu Sheng shook his head, knowing that despite having such people of extreme talent, the destruction of human civilization couldn't be prevented. But Lu Sheng didn't lose hope. Every minute and every second were so precious for him to train hard and give his all to become stronger. 1 month later, inside the psychic room, as Xia Lin closed her eyes, she focused on her surroundings using her psychic power. Multiple yellow things were simultaneously about to hit her, and it was all destroyed by a purple aura with star cones from her. After crushing all the targets, Xia Lin summoned back her star cones. Suddenly, someone opened the door and commended her for her rapid improvement. It turned out that it was Dongqing Shui standing before the door with crossed arms. She was delighted that Xiaolin could now control 3-star cones with ease. She asked Xiaolin when she could handle 6-star cones with ease, and when that happens, it means that she has entered the realm of rank 1 mentalist. Xiaolin bowed her head before thanking Dong Qingxue for personally instructing her. Dong Qingxue told her that it was nothing, besides she was talented. However, Dong Qingxue noticed something. There seemed to be a massive weakness in Xiaolin's mental fortitude. Sweat emerged from Xiaolin, knowing her instructor's observation was accurate. Dong Qingxue asked her if someone had previously left her with mental trauma. Hearing this made Xiaolin's body tremble, and the gaze of Lu Sheng popped into her mind. She confessed that she is facing mental trauma and asked if there is any way to resolve this. Dong Qingxue answered that it was simple. She needed to find the person who caused the trauma and defeat or kill them. After that, her mental trauma will naturally be gone. Xiaolin was taken aback with an open mouth while biting her hand because she knew she had no chance of defeating Lu Sheng. Seeing the weird reaction of her student, Dong Qingxue encouraged her that she is now in the midst of rapid growth in terms of abilities, and it wouldn't be difficult for her to defeat the person who caused her trauma. Hearing this made Xiaolin think that she may really have a chance to defeat Lu Sheng. Knowing that Lu Sheng did nothing but sleep in his room, in the hallway, leaning against the wall, Qin Xiaojun asked how Xiaolin's training was going. With a little disappointment, Dong Qingxue responded that Xiaolin is pretty talented. However, her character is a little soft. Qin Xiaojun clarified that not everyone is like Dong Qingxue. Besides, no matter what, he is sure that Xiaolin's character is better than the one he instructs. Dong Qingxue brought up that they taught them all they could do, and only 2 months remained before the camp assessment closed. She then asked if Lu Sheng was still sleeping all day. Qin Xiaojun answered affirmatively and added that every time the staff delivered his meals, they would see him just sleeping. He guessed that Lu Sheng was a lost cause. He then laughed and reminded her of what she said when she was lecturing the students. If they wish, they can stay in the dorms and just sleep their days away and no one will interfere. Dong Qingxue sighed and massaged her forehead. She regretted saying those things. Putting his 2 hands inside his pants pockets, Qin Xiaojun wondered if she would still use Lu Sheng as a grindstone. With steam over her head and a closed fist, Dong Qingxue stated that there was no chance and added that Lu Sheng was not even fit to be used as a stepping stone. She then walked away and ordered Qin Xiaojun to train Meng Jingher well, otherwise, Xiaolin might beat him to a pulp during the closed camp assessment. Qin Xiaojun made a blah face and told her they were not afraid of her and her student. Meanwhile, in the gym room, standing like a mop model, Young Yuan wiped her sweat and exhaled her tiredness. She was interrupted by a cheery girl who had just returned to help her. Young Yuan thanked her, and in response, the girl said it was nothing. Besides, Young Yuan also helped her the last time. As the girl in yellow sighed, she mentioned that she envies those who got 100 points, knowing that those points were enough for their expenditure for 2 months. Young Yuan replied that people like the 2 of them have to scrimp and save and hold in their hunger just to get by, and there is no comparison. The girl in yellow asked what Lu Sheng has been doing the whole time. According to what she knows, Young Yuan is close to him. With concerned eyes, Young Yuan replied that she didn't know. The girl in yellow remembered the day Lu Sheng made such an impact that made them all cower with his aura, but in the end, it was all over for him the next day. She informed Young Yuan that Lu Sheng has been shutting himself up in his dorm room all this time, and she guessed the others have already caught up with him. She asked Young Yuan if Lu Sheng is scared or something. She assumed that Lu Sheng might realize the advantage of strength-type talents will gradually diminish and decide to hide away to enhance the sense of mystery around him. But Young Yuan thought differently. She knew Lu Sheng wasn't like that. She then turned around and told the girl in yellow to get some rest, and she would do the rest herself. The girl in yellow was confused by her sudden action, and her attention turned outside after seeing some commotion. The people were telling others that Chao Yong was about to take on quadruple gravitational force. Hearing this made Young Yuan recall that she almost fainted after spending just 20 minutes in a double gravitational force chamber, but quadruple is insane. The girl in yellow grabbed her hand and told her they should also watch. Doing so, Young Yuan wondered what Lu Sheng was doing right now. This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part, then don't forget to subscribe and like the video.